Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Coded Factory talk. Our topic today is going to be Next.js, and I'm joined today by Khalid, who's going to be asking questions and making sure that I cover as much as we can with Next.js. In this first video, we're going to be doing a quick overview of what Next.js is, and we're going to be looking at Next.js's built-in routing system. And then in a separate video, we're going to be talking about data fetching strategies in Next.js, which is what gives it its superpowers, let's say. Let's get started. First of all, the big difference between Next.js and something like Create React App is that Next.js is a fully fledged framework for building multiple page websites. So with Create React App, what you're doing is it's a wrapper around the React library, and you're building a single page application. If that's what you want, then that's great. But Next.js is doing something different, which is it's creating multiple separate pages and serving those up at different URLs. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be using Next.js. One of Next.js's capabilities or superpowers is that it has an automatic routing system based on the file structure that you use, and we're going to be looking at that in this first video. It also does automatic code splitting, so when it serves up a page, it only serves it with the minimal JavaScript that it needs for that page to be interactive. You're not getting the entire code base of the website. You're just getting the code that page needs. And then the superpower, or the thing that makes Next.js so special, is that it pre-renders as much of the HTML on the server side. So your React code actually runs in the server, generates HTML, and then that gets served up to the client. It renders as much as possible in the backend or in the server, and then serves that to the client to reduce the amount of work that the client needs to do, and to reduce the amount of JavaScript that needs to be sent. It's really great for websites that need good SEO, and essentially that's what it gets used for. More standard multi-page websites. So let's jump into actually creating a Next.js application. So I've got my terminal open here. Let me just zoom in a little bit. And to create a Next.js app, we're going to say yarn create next app. And let's give it a bit of time to just download a few packages, and we'll do the setup. Okay, so let's give it a name. We're going to call this posts, and it's going to download all the libraries and packages that it needs, and then create a repo for me for my posts website. Khalid, did you have any questions before I jump into this?
I just wanted to ask if the reason people would use Next.js instead of React, because I know React is a single-page application, and most of the time, if you want to search things inside the website, for example, in Google or any search engine, sometimes it just doesn't pop up. So you mentioned that it's one of the great uses of Next.js is for search engine optimization.
Exactly. Actually, you reminded me that I have this next slide. So in a standard React application or in a plain React application, what happens is that initially the page is blank. Your HTML file, if you look at your index.html in your Create React App folder, it's just got one root div. And that's what loads, and that's what a web crawler sees when it lands on that page. That page doesn't get hydrated, or it doesn't get rendered until after the JavaScript loads. And that JavaScript is huge because it has the entire application, like every single component, all that JavaScript for all the interactivity, for your state management, for everything has to load first. And then you end up in the hydration step where your DOM elements get added to that HTML, to your DOM tree. And so it can take a really long time before something shows up on the page. And so web crawlers, like, they're getting better at doing this now, but like standard web crawlers won't see anything. That page will be blank. Whereas if you're in a Next.js app, it's generating that HTML, it's rendering your React components as much as possible on the server. So it pre-renders the HTML and then sends it to the front end with the minimal JavaScript for hydrating the interactivity. So a search engine or a web crawler will actually see content, and it'll be able to index your website. It'll be able to make decisions about the content of your website, because there's actual content when the HTML first loads. That's why a lot of people use Next.js. It also, like, this also makes it faster for the user. Like, the user will land on the page and they will see something immediately. It might not be everything. There might still need to be stuff loading, but they'll see the whole page, or they'll see something. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So at this point, our next project has completed, and you can see there are a few different start commands. There's yarn dev, which starts a development server, and this has hot reloading and a whole bunch of stuff that we're used to in our React environment already set up. So if you make changes, the website will, or your local server will automatically restart. There's yarn build, and this creates a production ready build, and yarn start, which we're used to running yarn start to start the development server, but yarn start in this case will run your build server. It'll run your production server. So let's open up our posts project. I've got it open here in VS Code. And inside we've got a couple of things. Or actually, let me just start this quickly and let's take a look. First of all, let me try yarn dev. Okay. Oops. Oh, I've already got something running on port 3000. Let me just disable that. Okay. So let's come over here and let's go to localhost 3000, and automatically you're met with this page. So let's see where that's coming from. Inside our pages folder, we have something called _app.js, which right now is just rendering a component. So I'll explain what this is in a minute. And we have index.js, and index.js is what's rendering that page that we just saw. Everything that we've got over here, welcome to Next.js, get started by editing, that's all inside here. And there are a few things which we don't really get, or there are a few things which are similar to Create React App. For example, you can import CSS files into index.js here. That's fine. You can see that this page is exporting a single component, this home component. I'm going to explain what that is in a minute. Something we might not have seen before is we have this head component, and this is part of the Next framework, and it allows you to make changes to the head of the HTML file, because the way Next.js works is that every file inside pages gets rendered to a single HTML file. And so index.js gets served at /nothing, okay? And it'll serve this page with this HTML head and this content. Okay, it'll serve this component as the entire page. So your HTML file will include whatever component is being exported by index.js. Does that make sense, Khaled?
Yes, so basically, if I share a specific page inside Next.js, it will have its own description. Unlike React, which will have like one description that gets applied on all pages inside React.
Exactly. Okay. So let's make some changes over here. Let's change this. Oh, this already says welcome to. Let's change this to hello next.js. And if we save this, you can see it automatically updated, automatically changed. That's because we're running our development server using yarn dev. If we were to do yarn build and yarn start, this would actually generate a build folder. Let's just give it a second to do that. And it generates all of these files right here. So if I go to the build folder, that's right over here, you can see it creates a whole bunch of stuff for us. And that's served over here, also on port 3000. And now these changes are not instantaneous. So if I add a lot more O's or zeros, that change is not reflected. So if you're going to use yarn build and yarn start, you're going to have to rebuild every single time you want to test something. So my recommendation is you use yarn dev when you're developing. And those changes now become instantaneous. Okay. All right. So I mentioned something. I mentioned that this index.js gets served up at the / or the root URL. This pages folder, it has to be called pages. You cannot rename this folder. Next.js uses this to create your routing. It creates the URLs that are going to be serve pages in your front end. So if I were to go to /hello here, for example, I'm going to get a 404. This is automatically being handled by Next.js. It can't find a hello page. But if I wanted a hello page, all I would need to do is go into pages here and create a hello.js. Okay, and let's create a React component. This is called hello. Okay, and let's come over here to refresh the page, and there's my hello world. So this URL matches the name of the file. Okay, every file you put inside pages creates a new route in your server, creates a new route in your Next.js server. And each route will serve up an HTML file with this content rendered into it. Is that clear, Khaled?
I've noticed, I've noticed you used RFC. Is this something built into your code editor, or?
Oh no, this is just something I have installed on VS Code to like generate React components very quickly.
Okay.
So let me create a more meaningful, or let me create another route over here. So let's call this posts.js. By the way, this is case sensitive. So if you capitalize this, it will become a capitalized URL. And let's export default function posts. Okay, and let's return a div. And inside this div, we'll call this posts page. Okay, so
you have a typo in return.
Oops, sorry. Thanks.
You can just use the shortcut now.
All right, so now if we go to /posts, we should get this page. So again, because I named the file posts with lowercase p, if I go to /posts, I'll get this page. Okay. So now let's talk about navigating between pages. I'm going to replace everything that's in here in the home page. Let me just kill this div. Okay, I'm going to put, well, I still have a div. Let's say I want a link in my home page that will take me to my posts page. Okay, so Next.js has a built-in routing system. And one of the things you can get is a link. So import link from next/link. Okay, and this works very similarly to the link in React Router, where I can say link. I pass it an href, and this href. So I'm going to say this, and it's not going to make sense until much later. The thing I pass to href is it's the path to the file inside Pages. Okay, it's not the URL, it is the path to the file. And in our case over here, it's going to be exactly the same. It's because my href is /posts, so that is the posts file. So it's gonna be fine to do it this way, but it'll make more sense later why I'm stressing this point. And let's say this is posts. Well, actually, it won't let me add text directly, so we do need an a tag in here. Posts. Okay. So let's go to my home page. Okay. There's my posts link. Obviously, it's not styled at all. It doesn't look like a link. We'll add some styling soon. And if I click on it, it goes to posts and to the browser history, and everything works the way you would expect. Okay, so clicking on this takes me there, and I can go back.
Okay, if you put a dot before the slash, so a dot which indicates that it's in the same folder, will it still work?
That's a great question. I've never tried that. Let's find out. Seems to be working.
Great.
I wouldn't recommend doing that though. The idea is that this is supposed to be relative to Pages. So it's a relative path from Pages. I wonder if I even need the slash. Oh, apparently I don't even need the slash. Either that or my server stopped running. let me just make sure that this is actually working. Okay, compiled posts. Yeah, that works fine. So I don't think you need the slashes. I think you can just say posts. But let's try something. I will try something in a few minutes once we have some sub-routing. I'm going to get into that in a second. But before I do that, let's just add some styling because this is not very encouraging with just these just this blank text. So if I want something that's going to appear on every single one of these pages, I said that these pages are completely independent of each other. Like this hello component cannot communicate with this posts component, cannot communicate with the home page. They are served up independently. This is not a single page application like what we normally have with Create React App. Each of these components is completely separate. Like if you were to add Redux, you would have to add it. Like each of these would have its own separate Redux system. Each of these would be a page by itself. So communicating between them is very difficult. But something that you can do is you can render stuff that's going to be on every single page. Okay, so we're talking about things like if you have providers or context or themes or if you want to include like Bootstrap CSS or whatever, those things you can put them into underscore app.js, and they will show up on every single page. So this component over here that's being passed to underscore app.js, or to this component app, this is the component that is being returned or exported here. So when you go to /hello, this component will be passed to underscore app, and it'll be rendered here, rendered into the HTML file here. So anything we put into my app will be rendered around that component. So let's get rid of these. So this CSS, because we're not using it. Let me get rid of this styles folder. And let's bring in something over here. Let me yarn add Bootstrap. Okay, and while that's loading, let's import it here. Import Bootstrap / dist CSS / bootstrap.main.css. So let's include some Bootstrap here. And now if I come to my page, you can see I got some styling on the link because it's an A tag. But let's do some more interesting stuff. Let's create a pretend nav bar. So let's make this a bit more interesting. Oops. And let's add a fragment. And let's add this dummy nav bar in quotes with some links. So let me put that over here. So if I go here, oops, I forgot to import link. Let's do that up here. Import link from next link. So let's do that. And you can see that I have a pretend nav bar up here. And if I go to posts, that takes me to my post page, but the nav bar is still there. And if I go back here, that takes me back to my home page, and this nav bar stays where it is. So, and the Bootstrap is also included in every single page. So anything that gets imported into here, or anything that gets rendered by this app component, that will show up on every page. Let's go to index.js and make this more interesting. Instead of an A tag, let's add a div with a class name, btn primary, just to prove that Bootstrap is working. Let's go back to here. There we go. Okay. Is this concept pretty straightforward, right? Khalid, you still there? Khalid?
I'm not sure if you can hear me or not, but yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. So let's create a slightly more complex structure over here. I'm going to get rid of this API thing because we're not using it. So let's create a slightly more complex structure. I'm going to create, first of all, let's have I'm just going to copy this so I can reuse it in multiple places. I'm going to start creating some folders inside pages. So let's create first a folder called, let's say, hello. And I'm going to move hello.js into here. Okay, and I'm going to rename it index.js. So if you had to guess, Khalid, what would you say hello index.js? Like what would this do?
I think that if you go to /hello, it will go to the index of the folder hello.
Exactly. So it's as expected. If you go to /hello, you end up in this folder in this index.js. why would you want to do this? Let's say I now add a how are you.js. Let's just paste this over here. I'm just going to call it, hey, how are you? And let's say, how are you? So what happens now is if I go to /hello, I get hello world, I get the index.js. If I go to /hello/how are you, I get the how are you component. So I can now create subrouting. Okay? /hello/how are you renders hello/how are you. It renders this file right here. So your URL structure matches your file structure over here. So hello index.js is hello followed by nothing. Hello/how are you is this folder, this file over here.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm not sure if you're going to get into it later, but usually when I'm creating a project, I create smaller components for reusability. So
Yes.
how does this work here? So I don't want to create a component that people can access like immediately.
That's a great idea. I was going to get into that later, but let's do it right now. So let's say I create a components folder up here. I could rename this whatever I want. And let's say I have a, I don't know, what kind of component do you want to create, Khalid?
Let's say, for example, you're going to have two buttons. I'm good, I'm not feeling so good, that you're going to place, and how are you, under how are you.
Okay, so let's say good button.js.
That's boot button.
Oh, boot button. Let me read it. Good button. And let's make this a div with a class name btn. btn success, I think, is the green one.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. And let's duplicate this. So copy, paste. Let's rename this bad button. Okay. Bad button. btn
Warning.
danger. Okay, and let's put this in the how are you page. So I can import good button from // components / good button, and let's duplicate this to get bad button, and let's wrap this in a fragment. And we'll put our good button here and our bad button right here. So absolutely, this will work in Next.js. Just because these files have to return a single component doesn't mean that they can't use components from elsewhere in the tree. I know in Create React App you can't import something from outside of source, but this pages folder is not like that. You can actually import, because this is running on the server, you can import from anywhere on the server. If you wanted to import from root and put something outside of this repo, you can do that. It's kind of weird. Yeah. I don't know why you would do that, but you could. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can bring in components from anywhere.
So basically, reusable components have to be defined outside pages because they're not accessed through the router by Next.
Right, right. So if I were to take good button and put it inside pages, okay, right here, and I think this got updated here. That's fine. If I do that, this is still working fine, by the way. But now I have a
I think you have to put
URL.
hello first. Oh yeah. Okay.
No, I put it outside of hello.
Okay.
If you're right. If this was inside the hello folder, then I would need to say /hello/good button. But yeah, now there's a URL which is going to render this component by itself, and that's okay. That's kind of weird. So let's move this back over here. Move, save, and now this no such file or directory.
Yeah, because you're visiting the good button URL. That doesn't exist anymore.
Should give me a 404.
No. Oh, okay.
Let's try coming here. Did I not put it in? Let me try rerunning the server just to.
Okay.
Moving files around is always a bad idea when you've got hot reloading because it can mess with things.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got hello/how are you. Okay. Let's try something a little bit different. I'm going to create a subfolder in here called hi. Okay, I'm going to move this index.js into hi. Okay. I'm going to create, let's say, oops, not a folder, file called greeting.js. Let's just copy what we have here. Okay. Felicitations. Okay. So the reason I'm doing this is let's look at our tree structure right now. We have hello, which maps to /hello. We have hi, which maps to /hi. We have index.js, so /hi will render this. /greeting will render this. So let's try that. Okay, hello. And how are you, by the way, is still there. It's still under hello. So hello/how are you will render this page. Hello/hi will render this page, which is hello world, okay, which is the index.js. Hello/greeting will render, I think it was greetings.
No, it's greeting.
Oh, sorry, it's hello/hi. Yeah, /greeting. Okay, that will render this page. Okay, but what I don't have is hello by itself. Okay,
because you removed the index.
Exactly. So if I have a folder which has some subroutes or some files in it without an index.js, I cannot go to that URL by itself. I can go to all its subroutes, like hello/how are you. I can go to that, but I can't go to hello by itself. So it's kind of weird. I don't know why you'd have that situation, but it might be completely legitimate. So actually, I can think of a way where you would want that. So let's say we have let's say we go to reddit.com/r. R by itself doesn't go anywhere. Oh, it goes to like /subreddits. It redirects, but R by itself is meaningless. You would need the name of a subreddit. So React. I don't know if React is actually a subreddit. Yeah, there we go. So r/React, that goes somewhere, but R by itself, it catches an error and then it redirects you. And we're not going to talk about that here, but that's the kind of situation where you'd have a folder without an index.js. Okay.
Yeah, clear.
All right. Let's go back to our posts. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this. Actually, I'll keep the hello folder. Why get rid of it? Let's change our posts so that we have a folder, which is posts. Okay, and I'm gonna move this into here. Move, And I'm going to rename this to index.js, and that's so we can have a posts, which takes me to the posts page. And then let's say I want a subroute 1.js. Okay, let's create this component. And just give me a second. Let's make this, I can't name it 1. Let's call this post 1. And let's have here, I am the first post. Okay. And now from our index.js in our posts page, I'm going to change this so that there's a link that takes me to that first post. Okay, so let me just copy this JSX that I have in my notes, put it over here. Okay, so now you can see that there's an href to posts 1. Let's come over here and refresh this. Oh, link is not defined because I forgot to import it. Import link from next link. Okay. So here's my, forgot that I put this in a cart. Here's my post 1. Okay, if I click on it, it takes me to post/1. I am the first post. Okay, and I can do the same thing and create a posts 2. So let's copy this, let's paste it, let's rename this, post 2, and this can be post 2. I am the second post. All right. Let's go back to posts. Let me add a URL for the second post. Let's come over here. Let's create another one of these. Posts 2. Post 2. Let's come over here. This takes me to post 2. And if I try to go to post 3, I get a 404 because we don't have that page. Okay. Now, obviously, this is problematic because I'm not gonna, like, if my data is dynamic, if the contents of this page over here are dynamic, then this is a problem because I can't generate these files. Like I'd have to do a lot of work to generate these files manually, right? So Next.js has a dynamic routing system. And the way that works is, let's replace these two. Let me delete this and delete this. I'm going to replace them with a slug.js. These square brackets are the important part. These square brackets mean that this is a parameter. This is a dynamically routed page. Okay? So the only thing you need to do is you need to name your file with square brackets. Whatever you put inside the square bracket, this will be the name of the parameter that your page will receive. So let's create a page over here. Let's say export default post singular. Okay, and let's return an h1. I am a post. Okay. Forgot to make this function. All right. Let's go to post 1. I am a post. Post 2. I am a post. Post 5. I am a post. Post whatever. I'm a post. So post/anything now goes to this dynamic page. Is this clear?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. I'm just gonna wait for you to continue. Maybe you're just going to answer them.
No, go ahead, please.
So what if I have like multiple, let's assume that the post have a sub post and I want to access that. Does that mean that the folder has to be in square brackets? So you'll create a folder with an index and the folder name would be a square brackets using the same concept you are using.
You're talking about something like, I don't know, if you had like 123 slash hello, and both of these are dynamic?
Yes.
Right, so yes, you'd create a folder with a square brackets, with its name, with the name in square brackets for the name of this parameter.
Okay.
And then whatever hello.js, which again, or like this would also be square brackets if this is dynamic, that would end up receiving two parameters. I haven't showed you how to pull the parameters out yet, but yeah, you can use this dynamic syntax, the square brackets, in folder names.
As a folder. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now, if you want to get access to this parameter, you need to use a hook that comes built into Next. So let's import from Next/router. We're going to import a use router hook, and in here we're going to pull out of use router dot query. We're going to pull out slug. Why is this called slug? Because I called this slug. If this was square brackets ID, then this would be called ID. Okay, but this gets pulled out of the URL. So I am a post with slug. Okay, so let's do that. And if we come here, so if it's hello, I am a post with slug hello. Whatever you put here, that will show up over here. So obviously this is very useful if you're going, so that you can use the slug to fetch like a detail, to make a detail request to an API, or even to fetch it from a store of some sort, or to make sure that you're rendering the correct content for this page. Okay. Now, when it comes to your links now, these are no longer, remember when I mentioned and I stressed that the href is a path to a file? It is not the URL. Okay, so here, the href for this card, for this link, goes to square brackets slug. It goes to this file. Okay, and you need a second part for dynamic links, which is an as prop. And this as prop is the URL. So this would be posts slash dollar. Well, this would be one. Why? This didn't need to be dynamic, but let's say it's one. And let's take this. Let's put it over here. 2. So as is the dynamic part, href is the file. Okay, so I want to render this file or this page or the page at this location in the file system with this URL in the browser. Okay, so if I now go to here, now I can dynamically link. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, this helps if we do something like const posts, create an array with the post having let's say, actually, the only thing we really need is a slug. So slug, hello, and let's add a second one. Slug. Well, this has to be a string, sorry.
Yeah.
Slug, important article. Okay, and let's map over these. So const post equals, oh, I can't call it post. Postcards equals post dot map for each post slug. Let's render one of these things over here. Okay, and here this would be the slug. And let's replace everything in this row with our postcards.
And you can change post 1 to slug instead of 1.
Oh, right. Post about, well, let's give them titles just to make this a bit more fun. Title, welcome to Next. Okay. Title, super important. Okay, and here we could pull the title as well and render that over here. So title. Okay, welcome to Next, super important. I go here, I'm a post with slug hello, go here. I'm a post with slug important article. Now, something that that people who are coming from like a traditional React approach might be confused about here. So in a standard React application, if you have this list detail pattern, what would happen is that you would be pulling your posts from probably a Redux store or Malbec store or some kind of state management or context or whatever. And then you would, in your detail page, which is this one right here, in your post page, you'd be using this slug to also pull the data from that store. And then you'd use like a .find or something, or maybe you'd have another way that you can communicate between these two routes if you're using a React browser. But they're essentially components in the same page because it's a single page application attached to the same store. So they're dealing with the same data. But because this is Next.js, this posts page is rendered by itself. And then this page is also rendered by itself. It has to make its own request for data. Now, we're not going to talk about that in this video. We're going to have a second video that has to do with data fetching, but it's just something I want to point out, something that you need to wrap your head around when you're using Next.js. It took me, like while I was building my first Next project, I had to keep reminding myself that this is not a single page application. These pages are independent of each other. But yeah, that's like a high level overview, mostly focused on the routing system in Next.js and how Next.js serves up its pages. In the next section, we're going to be talking about data fetching strategies and Next superpowers when it comes to fetching data. But Khalid, did you have any other questions about the routing and about this structure?
Maybe just one last one. So if I'm building a static website using Next without fetching from the backend, for me to use some data. So for example, I'm going to have my data in a specific place and then import it in the pages or find it in the detail page. So should we create like another folder, the one like components, and have our data inside and then import it from there?
So it doesn't make any assumptions about where you're going to put your data, but what I usually like to do is I'll have a data folder. Like if this is completely static data, then I'll have a data folder in here with some data files. Maybe there's an array. Like maybe I want to move this over here. So let's create like a posts.js. And let's export default posts. Okay. And let's pull that in here instead of this. So let's go data, import posts from // data / posts. So this is completely valid. So let's come over here. Everything still works.
Yeah, and basically now if I go to the detail page, I can still find the data by slug and the thing you were talking about.
Right. So yeah, let's actually do that. Why don't we do that?
Okay.
Let's give this data a bit more meat. Let's say content. The world of Next.js is super exciting and blah, blah, blah. And let's put some content here. I am the most important thing you will read in 2020. Okay, so let's do that. So in Next.js, we're doing that. Let's grab our data in our slug file. Okay, and now what we would do is, let's say, const. Oh, one of the problems that we have with this post page right now is that if I were to go to /posts whatever, it would still render, right? But I don't want it to render. I don't want this to show up if I don't have a post. Okay. So thanks for bringing this up, Khalid. This is pretty important. So let's grab our post. Posts.find post. Post.slug is equal to slug. And I can do something like if not post, and I can bring something else from Next. From Next/error. So Next comes with an error component that you can render, and I'll show you what that looks like right now. So let's return error with a status code of 404. Okay, and what this will do is if it can't find that post, then it will return a 404. I think I have a slug in my data with
space in it. Yeah, I was just going to point out that.
Yeah. So let's go to welcome to Next. It can find this page. It can find this page, but it can't find this page. Okay. Yeah. So we can dynamically generate 404 pages if we don't find our data. Let's actually render some of this stuff. So let's say
title
posts. Yeah. Post.title. Let's give it a class name of, forgot what this was.
Text secondary, for example, or primary. No, it's a camel case.
In Bootstrap?
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I'm not. This is unnecessary.
Yeah.
To get into this right now. So let's do that, and let's create a p tag, and this p tag will have post.content. Okay. So let's do that. Let's come over here. This is a 404. If I go to super important, there we go, super important. I'm the most important thing you'll read in 2020. Let's go back. Welcome to Next. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, your data can live in a lot of different places. And in the next video, I'll show the different ways that you can pull data in. We're actually going to start from a very similar point to where you sent us here, Khalid, where we have like our data, our dummy data or our static data being imported from a data folder. And then we're going to move on to fetching data from an API in different ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
So
Thank you, Aziz.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining me today. And I'll see you in the next video.
Will do. See you.